embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kai and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
It's always so cool to see the intro all those different times. But then I love watching our guests backstage, watching the video, the facial expressions and stuff like that. And also, shout outs to the catacorn. You saw it. I forgot to put a catacorn in there in the corner. Sure, it's like a hidden gem. All right. Let's create some magic. Welcome to our daily magic. Hello, people who are already here. We see the comments and stuff. This is going to be a fun, engaging conversation. And I am very excited to have this conversation with a magical being who is creating magic in the world in her own unique way and all the infinite ways she's expressing it. So many different creativities that you have done. And I remember doing a meditation challenge that you offered from one of our friends who gave it. Oh, and I think that's her right there. Hello there, Yael.
Hey, Emily.
So let's get into it. I'm excited. Bring your comments, your questions, your magic, and take from this magical conversation something that resonates with you to co-create more magic in your life and bring your own magic, and have your magical popcorn ready as well, because this is going to be exciting.
I want some. What's that magical popcorn?
Yeah, I don't even know what it just came through. Magical popcorn. Is it like sprinkles and rainbows and glitter and does it disappear? Does it reappear? Does it fill up by itself?
Yeah, and it comes in an amethyst bowl.
Okay.
All right.
Well, so the council talks about we have our own divine treasure chest. So it's like each one of us has our own treasure chest above our heads that never gets empty. We can't ever use it all up. It just keeps getting refilled, and it's just full of just everything that we could want in this lifetime and beyond. And it's all for us. We don't have to steal, borrow, or beg for it. It's provided for us, and I don't have to go take it from anybody else because I have my own. Each one of you have your own. And that is energy. And energy is everything. And energy has a frequency. So whether it's abundance or wealth or opulence, or you're wanting to have expansive success or to feel well or to have expansive love or freedom, all of those are like little rubies and golds and, and diamonds that we can pull through as far as letting ourselves feel the frequency of that energy and let that be part of our own experience, because then that draws to us, we attract to us things that are that like energy.
Ooh.
So.
Ooh. Whew. Okay. The popcorn is filling up now. Let's go. So we're going to get into this. I am one half of the host, Dell, and
I'm Kai, and I have the pleasure and the honor of introducing Christy Whitman, who is a New York Times bestselling author, transformational leader, and author of the forthcoming book, The Desire Factor. I was going to do like the drums or the dun dun dun, but you know, it's already in there. She's appeared on Coast to Coast with Gregory Nori, The Today Show, The Morning Show. Her work has been featured in People Magazine, 17, Women's Day, Hollywood Life, Teen Vogue, and many others. As a CEO and founder of the Quantum Success Coaching Academy, a 12-month law of attraction coaching certification program, Christy has helped thousands of people worldwide to achieve their goals through her empowerment seminars, speeches, and coaching sessions, and also products. Christy's life-changing message reaches over 125,000 people a month. And her work has been promoted by and featured with the esteemed authors and luminaries such as Marianne Williamson, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Marcy Shimoff, Brian Tracy, Neil Donald Walsh, Abraham Hicks, and Louise Hay.
Wow.
Yeah, right? She currently lives in Scottsdale with her husband, Frederick, and their 2 boys, Alexander and Maxim.
Don't forget Jax.
And Jax. I was going to say, and Jax. He's my boy. He's my puppy.
Pretty much, this is the embodiment of you are magical as fuck.
When I saw that on your thing, you saw me backstage laughing. So
because it hits out of nowhere. It's this is so beautiful,
yeah.
And then just having the guy say it in his voice, "You are magical as fuck." Now be unleashed. And this is right here is a prime example of owning the magic that you are and unleashing it. All these different accolades for you, Christy, of unleashing yourself. And I would love to find out your journey of what led to you to get to this point of where you're at now, the expansion, but what started this magic for yourself?
Well, I was living in a time when I didn't feel there was much magic, and I had graduated from college. And, for me, it was one of those, nobody sat me down and said, these are the things that will make you happy in life. But I kind of deducted, if I have a job, I don't have to rely on a man, right? That was my vow when I was 7 years old, because I saw my mom and dad in a very unhappy marriage. And I said to my mom, why don't you leave him? Why don't you divorce him? And she said, because what am I going to do for money? And so I made a vow right then and there, I will never rely on anybody, including, especially a man, right? Because I was like, that was my thing. I'm going to have it on my own. I'm going to be independent. So I got out of college, graduated from Arizona State University. I moved to Chicago with my best friend, living in this great city. I had established this really great career. I was young in Chicago working for a liquor company. And we would go to bars and restaurants and go to different, like the Bulls were playing. We would go to the Bulls games and, for part of the like Seagram's this and that. And then I got promoted into a wine business, and I was a wine representative, excuse me for a second, a wine representative for all the Midwest. And I was also engaged. And my girlfriend that has known me since 7th grade, she said, I've never seen you more miserable. So here I am, I've got it all, what I thought was going to be the things that made me happy. And I was unhappy. I was actually depressed. I was more unhappy because I achieved all these things that I thought was going to finally fulfill me, and they didn't. And that's depressing when you're like, okay, got it. I worked really hard to get all this. Wait a minute. I still feel as empty as I did. So what's this about then? If it's not collecting the things, or if it's not the accolades, or if it's not, doing this or that, what is it about? And so I broke off my engagement and I started going to therapy. And therapy was a good place for me to start, at least looking into myself, but I still felt that there's so much more. And during that time of introspection and really starting to kind of get to know myself a little bit better, and I quit smoking at that time and started, a practice of self-love, and was really shifting because I was a pack and a half a day smoker. I met a guy. I moved to California. And the one person that he introduced me to was a hairdresser, and I need to go get my hair cut. So Janine is like cutting and coloring my hair, and I'm watching her. And this is like 7 years ago. So it wasn't the internet that we know today. I didn't know anybody that meditated. I didn't have the language or the understanding of what I was witnessing in her, but I knew there was something different about her. And being as blunt as I am, I'm like, okay, what do you do? Because like, you're different. And I would now explain her, if I, could explain what Janine was like. She was just bubbling, effervescent joy. It was like I was getting caught up in joy bubbles. It's like, imagine someone's like, popping champagne constantly. I mean, that's what her energy field was like. And I felt like, woo, this is fun. Like I always felt like this is just like, I like this field. If I was going to describe it how I know now, but back then I was like, what do you do? And she said, I meditate. Now, understand, I'd never met anybody had ever meditated before. Like my idea back then of someone that meditated was like a guy with a white beard and a white coat sitting on a, mountaintop somewhere in a yogi position, oming. Because I never knew anybody but that meditated, right? So I was like, meditate. It was like, it just completely shifted me. And she gave me her meditation teacher's number. And back then, this is like in the 90s, right? We had those big block phones. So I'm like dialing, it's like a brick. I'm dialing it as I'm like walking out of the salon, because I was just like, I want what she has. If you ever saw that movie, Harry Met Sally, I'll have what she's having. I'm like, I want that. So it was so palpable for me. So Melanie finally got back to me about a week later, and I found myself at her house, and I walk in her house, and she's got new age clinky clanky music going on, and incense and candles, and there's angel statues all around. And I'm like, what in the heck is all this, right? And she invites me to sit on a cushion on the floor instead of a couch or any place else. And I thought, okay. And so she looks at me just straight in the eyes. I mean, I don't think I've ever, sorry about that. I don't know if I've ever had anybody look that deeply into my soul before. And she said to me, you create your own reality. And I was like, yes, that's true. I do. There was something that knew that. But then my mind kicked in and went, well, wait, how? How do I create my own reality? And she started with thoughts. What I now teach is that we have to start with our words. We have to watch our words, because our words start the whole entire creation process. But back then, she said thoughts. And she said, you're either repelling things from you or attracting things to you based on the way you think. And I was like, whoa, thoughts? What do you mean, the way I think? And it became my first awareness of, I'm not my thoughts. So if I'm not my thoughts, who's thinking those thoughts? What is that? And that was like a whole discovery. And she could see I was just like, whoa, I mean, this is big for me. So she goes, I want you to go home for a week. Just pay attention to your thoughts. Don't do anything about them. Just be the witness to your thoughts. And what really surprised me, and I was living in this room in a house, I literally was just like in a room. It was like a pool room. And they had like these, a closet that had those mirrors, those sliding mirror closets. And I walked by the closet, and within seconds, I could hear at least 10 different negative thoughts about myself. You're too short. You're too this. You're too that. You're never going to. And I was like, whoa. I mean, that was so negative. That's so mean. Like, who is that person saying those mean things to me? It's me inside my own head. And I remember calling up same girlfriend on, and I said, God, I am so negative. And she goes, what are you talking about? You're one of the most bubbliest, happiest freaking people that I know. Like sunshine and lollipops all around you. Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, okay, then what's happening here between the mouth and the head? Because inside my head, as I'm now paying attention to these thoughts, I'm really mean. And there's a lot of like beating myself up and critical and judgmental. And it was like, oh. And the more I started paying attention, those thoughts weren't just about me. They were about my mom, my dad, the guy that just cut me off in traffic. It was that guy and that jerk and this guy, it was all in my thoughts. But there was somehow a filter between my thoughts and what I would say. And so as I started to pay attention to those thoughts and understand that those thoughts are creating my current reality and they're negative thoughts, I don't feel good thinking them, I started to shift my thoughts. And as I did, things started opening up. Like I got recruited from, I was working at Pepsi-Cola. I got recruited to work in the marketing department at Pepsi-Cola. And I attracted a really great guy. I used to date bad boys all the time. And that's where I felt that I could, that's what I deserved. Someone that wasn't available for me, or that was into drugs and alcohol, or that was a cheater, or that just wasn't available. And I was fine because I was doing my own thing, right? Fine. Next, right? But I met a guy that ended up being my first husband, and we were in a beautiful 8-year relationship. So like things started moving, and every little shift of every little thought of beliefs, I just started getting more and more into understanding that the negative thoughts that I was mired in, that I was raised in, is a lack perspective. It's a whole mentality on lack of what's not good, what's not right, how I got to one up somebody else in order to feel good about myself. I got to compare myself to others. I got to find, I had a lot of jealousy, a lot of envy, a lot of just absolute dissatisfaction, a lot of drama thoughts. And all of that leads to, all of that mentality, those thoughts, that vibration continues to draw more people, situations, experiences where we're looking at and going, I don't have enough. And understanding that, it's like, okay, I get this. What's the opposite of that? And that's what an abundant mentality is. So I just started diligently focusing on what do I need to shift? What perspective, what belief, what thought do I need to shift? And what do I want to shift it into? Because what I really got as like the basis of everything I talk about now, which blew my mind, is that when we are feeling bad on any given subject, we're in lack. But if we feel good, we're in abundance. And that I have the choice as to what I'm focusing my attention on, meaning what thought I'm thinking. Am I thinking an abundant thought? Well, then I'm going to feel good. If I'm thinking a lack thought or a thought of lack, then I'm going to feel bad. And that became my own personal work. And I just kept shifting it and seeing things manifest and change until one day, from this perspective, and it's kind of like what we talked about in the beginning, how we have these gold nuggets, these rubies, these diamonds, it's all energy. I remember being a successful pharmaceutical representative. I was living in my dream home. I had my marriage, it was like I got a pool with the whole like rock thing in the back, it was like, hey, I'm living the dream, right? Got it all, right? I could go swimming in my backyard. Like I got a pool, So, and then I was again, I'm like, you know what? I don't have passion or purpose for what I'm doing in the world. I felt like once again, there's something bigger. There's something bigger than selling drugs. My aunt would always say, you went from wine to Pepsi. So you went from wine to non-alcoholic to drugs. Good movement. So, so I was a pharmaceutical rep, and if I even had a headache, I wouldn't even take an Advil. I was like, grabbing the peppermint and putting it on me. So for me to go out daily to tell doctors that, ooh, this test result and these side effects, and it's so much better than these other ones. You don't have sudden death with my drug. You might have suicidal thoughts, but there won't be sudden death, So it was like, what am I doing, right? So what I was devoid of, what I was feeling like I'm really lacking, is passion and purpose. And so what I knew is if I'm lacking, if anybody's ever feeling lonely, if you're feeling like you're desperate, you're in lack, you don't have any passion, you don't have any purpose, that's all energy. And so I started cultivating in my meditations what it would feel like to be on purpose and to have passion for what I did. And I started feeling my way into that. And what I really understood is that my purpose is to be a light worker. Like, that's my true purpose. I work with light, whether it's like I want to manifest a pile of money so I can go on a trip with my family. I'm manifesting that money with light, with energy. Like, when I'm manifesting something, when I'm creating a success, or when I'm creating a book, or when I'm doing any of these things, it's doing it from a place of being a conduit through energy, through light. So I started feeling my way into that. In less than a month, my first book, Perfect Pictures, downloaded through me. And I'll explain that in a minute. It was 1:05 in the morning, the night before that night. I was meditating, and all of a sudden I saw a cover of a book, and it said Christy Whitman, Perfect Pictures, and there was like the cover. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I've never written a book. Okay. So went to sleep. 1:05 in the morning, I wake up with this voice in my head. And I know it's not my voice because it's giving me information that was helpful. So it was a totally different perspective. And I kept trying to roll over, and it wasn't leaving me alone. So I got up and I started listening to it going, hey, that's a different perspective. I like that. So I get up, take a pen to paper, and which is now what I call scribing or channeling. My hand just started going. And it was doing that for like hours, and, just like writing. And I couldn't even keep up. It was just writing. And that happened 7 nights in a row at 1:05 in the morning. And so I got the book published. I started speaking in spiritual bookstores and churches. Now, again, this is 22 years ago now. And there wasn't coaching. So people would ask me, I was living in Northern California, and people would say, well, can you coach me? Are you a coach? And I'm like a football coach, like a cheerleading? What are you talking about? I was just like, I had no idea that there's the thing called coaching. And so I was like, just call me on the phone. I set up appointments with these people, and I was so excited to be able to help someone shift a perspective, to shift a thought, to meditate on a different energy. And they kept coming back to me going, oh my God, I met him. Oh my God, I got the promotion. Oh my gosh, I just got a raise. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool to be able to help change, to help affect change in another person. So I started going to school, and I started getting certified to become a coach. And there wasn't anybody out back then. How do you build a coaching business? There wasn't anybody teaching that. So I had to kind of figure it out, along the way with intuition and working with one person. And it's like, that doesn't feel right. And ooh, this feels good. And following that for a little bit, and then going, that doesn't fall, you're kind of leading edge, making your own way in a industry that really doesn't exist. And so I had clients that were started to pay me. My first client was Latricia. She was on my team for my pharmaceutical. And she's like, what are you doing? Because I kept getting awards. It'd be like award time, and they'd be like, just give it to her. Do we have to go through the whole thing? Just give her just give her the money, give her the bonuses, give her the, give her the certificates. We know she's got all the, so Latricia's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'll coach you. And she started, increasing her sales, went from like one of the lowest rings in the sales force to winning President's Trophy, which is one of the top 10%. So other people were watching her going, what are you guys doing? Right. And so finally I decided to go full-time into my coaching business. And at that time, people were asking me if I would certify them. And as a matter of fact, I had 4 different people in 4 different days that didn't even know each other. I was like, okay, universe, I'm getting the surround sound effect. If I was going to certify someone to do what I do as a law of attraction coach, what would I do? And just like that book downloaded through me and all of my books now, I put pen to paper, and the Quantum Success Coaching Academy, where I have certified over 3,000 coaches since 2008, literally came to be. So that's it. There's more to it, but yeah, it's been a journey. It's been an amazing journey. And obviously leaned into healing and leaned into channeling, and now I'm channeling the council. So
can we hear that story?
Yeah, right? I was about to just say that.
yeah. So, I mean, it was, again, I kept leaning in, anytime the book came through or something. And it was about 2000, I want to say it was like 2016. And I was doing a lot of healing work with my clients. And the first time this happened, I think it was about 2015. I was on a call, and we didn't have Zoom. We didn't do a lot of Skype. Everything was like instant teleseminar. So I did I was doing a group of energy work with a group of people. And I was doing a checkout at the end where I was reading their field. And this one woman, it was crazy. All of a sudden my hands went up. And I was like, and I could see her. Like I could see her silhouette, and my hands were like around her neck. And all of a sudden, now I'm in Montreal at the time. She's in Seattle, Washington. And all of a sudden she goes, "Did you just put your hands around my neck?" And I said, "I did." And I couldn't put them down. And they were like on fire, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, what is happening to my hands? And I'm just like, I went with it. I leaned into it. She goes, "My neck has been killing me all day today. There's no way I'd even tell anybody that. How would you even possibly know that?" I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now. So I don't know that your neck has been hurting you. So get done. And she's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing," right? The next person that checks out, her name's Barbara. And all of a sudden, instead of my hands going up, I'm hearing really clear, "Tell her to go to the doctor and get her hips checked." What? I'm not telling somebody that. It was like I'm arguing with this voice, which I know the voice because it's the same voice that, downloads and gives me that information from my books. But I'm like, I'm not doing that. Tell her to go get her hips checked. I mean, they were persistent. And I'm like, "Barbara, don't kill the messenger. I don't know why they're telling me this, but it was clear. They are telling me to go get your hips checked." So she goes, "Okay." That week she goes to the doctor. She had cancer in her hips, totally saved her life. So I was like, what is this? Right? I kept leaning into it. And one day I've declared myself a healer. I came out of the closet, right? I'm an energy healer. I'm not just a coach. It was like coach was so foreign and so like nobody even knew what coaching was. It becomes more mainstream. And then it's like, hey, I'm a healer now. And then, oh, she's an energy healer, right? And now I'm like, I'm a channeler. So it's like, things keep getting more mainstream and I keep going to the leading edge. So I'm on the freeway driving. And all of a sudden I hear them again. And now I am seeing a picture of this. I can't even explain it other than a circle of light. And again, there's no words for it. But what I'm seeing is, and they're telling me, go create sacred circle of light. And I'm like, what's that? Right? And they were really specific. Create a Zoom. Okay. So you get people to come on and you do healing work with them. Oh, okay. So I had about 7 women that signed up to do this sacred circle of light. It's a year-long program. We meet weekly. Things happen in life, got to fight with my husband. Okay, let's process that emotion. My mom really ticked me off. Okay, let's process that emotion, do all healing work. And the last lady on this day, and it's crazy because I'll never forget the date because it's actually my son's birthday. So it was September 17th, 2018. And I'm doing the healing work. And I have a YouTube video on this too, so you could actually see the video. But I'm doing healing work. And then all of a sudden, they just came through. And I felt as if instead of them being outside, it was like they were in. And I could feel as if my whole entire body went over to the side. I would have paid good money. That my body was literally over the side of my chair. And because that's what it felt like. I felt like I was on the side listening to what was happening and what I was hearing. And one of the first things that the council ever came through and said was, there are no problems, only perception of problems. And I was like, wow. And then they kept going on and on and on, right? Finally, I came back in and I'm like, oh my God, that's never happened. I'm crying. The ladies are crying. We're all like, what just happened? And ever since then, it's like every time I go to connect, they come in and my consciousness goes out. Now I don't even hear what they're saying. It's like I go take a nap. That was kind of like a preview of what I get, right? It's like I get to listen from the sidelines. Now I'm not even present. But it has been amazing, astonishing, because they can go into someone's holographic field and see where imprints are. And we'll say, okay, you got that imprint when you were 3 and this happened, right? And then they have processes on how to master that energy to release the imprint so that their people are free of it. I mean, I could tell you crazy stories, but there was this one woman who she had been sexually abused since she was 4 years old and had gone through years and years of very intense therapy. In one session in a sacred circle of light, within 15 minutes, she had healed all of those decades of pain and trauma by releasing it and doing that energy work with the council. And it's just astonishing. It's just, it's so beyond me, and I'm so grateful just to be the conduit for it.
Yeah. Wow.
So what else do you want to talk about?
Right.
Dell's like, what?
Sitting here enjoying. I'm like, whoa.
Well, let's talk about money, right? Because, you know, the spiritual community, well, first you're talking about the coaching community, and then the spiritual community, and then we get into the really cool stuff. And somehow I've seen that money gets like dropped off along the way. We've got coaches doing things pro bono. We've got healers out there, bartering. Like, what do you think is happening? What's going on?
Well, first of all, human beings in general have issues with money, because when you really think about it, who do we learn a healthy money relationship from? Most of our parents. I know mine didn't. My mom, when I realized we all have our own energetic relationship with money. We are in relationship with everything in our universe, and all relationships start inside of us. Even another human being, that relationship can be shifted as we hold it different. We hold the person differently. Everything shifts. But the cool thing about money is that it doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't have baggage. It doesn't have imprints. It literally goes and flows to where it is invited in. And how do we invite it in? By our allowance of it. So let me give an example just to kind of show what I'm talking about. I used to have what I call split energy on money, because my mom and dad lived upper class. They had a lot of rich friends and belonged to tennis clubs, and dad worked 6 days a week, really, really hard. Never enough for my mom. It was always like, oh, she's got a bigger this, or she's got a nicer car. They're going on this trip. But, my poor dad, it was like never, whatever he did, it was never enough. And with that, she always idolized people that had money. And for some reason, it was always like doctors and lawyers. Sorry if you're a doctor and lawyer, you're great. But it was like they were like really special, right? And she had this thing. She still does this. Crazy. I don't know why. She goes, "Ooh, they have buku bucks." It's like, "Ooh, they got lots of money." And it's like they were idolized. And then those same people, my dad would be like, that guy's just a cutting him down and just negative things to say about him. So I'm like, whoa, this is my imprinting. People that have a lot of money are great. And you can have a lot of things and do a lot of stuff. And, and that's, money's good, right? Programming. Wait a minute. Same people, they're messed up. Dad doesn't like them. Dad talks about them being pompous and this and other, colorful language that he used to describe them. So I've got a split within me as a kid. Do I get money or do I don't? And so I saw this play out in my adult life, where it was like, I'd make a lot of money, but I wouldn't keep it. I'd actually spend it so much or do bad investments or whatever that I would not have it. and then I would make a lot of it. So I was making both parents happy. I was filling into both. I didn't have it, so I'm not a pompous jerk, but I do make it, so I'm good. And that very subconscious parts of us don't even know. And until I got to a place, it's like, wait a minute. Those energy cords, those are my parents. What relationship do I want to have with money? What do I want my relationship to be with money? Right? I was working with a client the other day. The council was working, and because she was having a very inconsistent relationship with money based on, how her childhood was with her dad or mom being inconsistent with money. So they had it, they didn't, they had it, they didn't. Are they going to eat tonight or are they not? Are they, it was very inconsistent. And so the council said to her, what's one person or one thing that you've had that has been consistent? And she said, the love of my dog, right? It's like, if you could imagine that money is as consistent and as fun and as enjoyable as your dog, as the love of your dog. And I started looking, my dog Jaxie is like constantly, I will go from one end of the house to the other end of the house just to mess with him. And he follows me the whole time. It's like, I can't shake the guy. So it's like, ooh, Jaxie's my money, like having that feeling of money surrounding you all the time and having access to it. Like, ooh, I want to create that. Okay. Let me play with the money to do that. Let me attract that into my life. Money doesn't care where I want to go. Money doesn't care how much money I want in my investments or in my wallet. It doesn't care. It goes where it's welcome. It's green energy. So as I allow myself to resonate with the feeling of having it, not in lack of it, not absent from it, but to truly feel what it feels like to have that level of money that we in our minds go, well, it may be that amount that will make me happy. Or maybe it's that amount that will finally satisfy me. But to truly find satisfaction in where we are right now and grateful for every single dime, every single penny, everything that you are able to pay for, the roof over your heads, the bed you sleep in, the clothes you wear, the food you put in your mouth, to be in that space of I love money and money loves me. And money is the source and resource for all the things that I want to do or experience. But the thing is, like me with that split energy, there's a lot of spiritual people that have a spiritual imprint about money, that money's not spiritual, or that having money is not spiritual, or that you can't be a spiritual person and also have money. And that is just absolutely not true. Our divine design is of abundance. Now, abundance means a lot of things, but it also includes money. To be able to, if you have a person that is aligned and they create and make a lot of money, they're going to take that money and they're going to put that money out into the world to create more good. And so what's wrong with money? Well, in the Bible, it says, for it's the love of money, it's the root of all evil. It actually didn't say that in the beginning. It was greed is the root of all evil. And somehow it got messed up. And so spiritual people, and it's interesting. I'm not like a Bible person. I never really was, I was raised Catholic. It wasn't like I looked at scriptures and stuff like that. It wasn't like I totally focused on, it's the love of money. That's the root of all evil. It's in the ethers. Our dysfunction with money is like, you could be standing at someone at the grocery store and they're worried and spiraling in their head about money. And if we're not deliberately choosing the energy that we want to hold in our container, their worry about money, they don't even have to say a word. They could just be standing there spiraling. We pick up and then all of a sudden we're like, oh crap, why am I so worried about money? What? Oh God, I got enough now, but will I have enough in 20 years? And it's like you start panicking because so the key to that is fill yourself up consistently and constantly with the energy that you want to feel and experience and breathe through and live through and you want to become from. And you can do that at any moment in time. You could literally stop whenever you driving in the car, drinking a glass of water, go into the bathroom, whatever you want to do it. Just allow yourself to connect with the energy. Imagine grabbing a ruby and it's like bringing in that ruby of abundance, or grabbing that diamond out from your own treasure chest and feeling your container expanding. You'll be standing in that grocery store with that person that's spiraling, and you're exuding love, you're exuding abundance or well-being, or whatever it is, that vibration that you're choosing to connect and to live from and hold into your own energy container. You're now an influencer instead of getting influenced by somebody else's dysfunction or their lower level energy on any subject.
Okay. Got it. I mean, to me, what I hear also is, that you're speaking to the connection between all of us.
Yeah.
How we really need to mind our environment and mind our energy.
We all need to take responsibility for the energy that we bring into our lives, because we're the conduit for that energy.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Well,
I was about to say, I had to send a link to somebody who was looking for the link for the live, but I was about to say, in regards to, like, they're saying, well, you were saying the thing of money is the root of evil type of thing. And for me, what I feel is like money, just like everything else, is neutral.
Yes.
Your intent with it will determine what it is with it, no matter what we do. So, like, an example of money, if you have evil intentions, then it's going to create evil. But by hearing about it, especially, is something that a lot of people want. It's going to reflect what's going on in your inner world, like you were mentioning too. And also, just how powerful creator we are, we're going to create with it whatever we have in our inner world as well.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is a reflection of what's going on inside of us, as within, so without. So it's true. We are, a lot of people understand law of attraction from, what I send out comes back. And I love what the council talks about, that it's not just that, let me send this out so that I can receive. Mm-hmm. It's what are we being? What are we holding? And from that, it's like, what are we connected to? Because if we understand that we're not just sending out signals all day, every day, to draw things to us, which is part of the story. That's only 1/3 of the story. Thing is that there is energy, and all the energy and all the things that we want to experience, whether it's taking a trip or creating a multi-million-dollar business or creating a podcast or whatever, creating a relationship, whatever it may be, we all want to feel a certain experience. We all want to feel a certain essence, if you will. And if we can just feel that essence, such as success or abundance or freedom or joy or connection, whatever that essence is, that's available now. It's available in the raw form of energy, because it will form something. But if we can connect to, I want to feel connected, and just feel what it feels like to have that energy of connection or fulfillment. I want to have a moment of feeling fulfilled or feeling harmonized or feeling at peace. When we hold that, we connect, we receive that energy, and we can hold that in our energy container, then what we're naturally sending out is thoughts. When we think about our consciousness, right? It's our words, our thoughts, it's our feelings, it's our perspective, what we hold in our pictures in our mind, and then the actions that we take. If we're holding our container in that space of abundance or success or love or whatever that may be, even when something in our third dimensional reality shows differently, maybe you don't have the money in the bank and you have a bill that's coming and you're like, holding that energy of abundance and really feeling that level of abundance, now you're going to be attractive to so many more solutions and more flow that you weren't if you stayed in the, I don't have it. What am I going to do? That energy. And it's very easy to do that because it's real. But I don't have the money to pay this bill. What do I do? Well, when you sit in the fear of it, it doesn't do you any good. If you move into the possibilities, okay, I'm going to look for the solutions. How could I earn more money? How could I bring in more money? Maybe I can ask if I can pay what I have now. Maybe I can pay it in installments. I mean, solutions and options come, and we still feel good in that moment of relating with the situation, with the person, with the experience. Because again, we're in relationship with everything all the time. Even when we're by ourselves, we're thinking about someone. And if we're thinking love thoughts or appreciation thoughts, that's still creating the relationship. But if we're thinking that, there's negative, there's resentment, you're still creating that relationship with that person now in your own energy field before it ever forms, before two people actually have a conversation. All of that is happening in the realm of energy before it forms into a reality.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're really in conversation with everybody all the time.
If it's in our head, yeah. I mean, if we're thinking of something or someone, right, we can choose the energy that we want to hold about that person, even while we're thinking about them. And that creates how we feel. It creates our now reality. It creates our now moment.
What I love about what you just said, Christy, is in regards to when situations show up. So an example of the bill, and then we have a choice for how we want to be with it and what state we want to be in when we're responding to those things. I'm like, as soon as you said that, my consciousness got blown. I'm like, wow. It's like,
awesome.
There's always a way to perceive whatever's happening, and you can choose to be whatever state you choose to be in. So you're saying like the being in that state of visualizing, meditating, the feeling, the essence of whatever that experience you like to feel from whatever you want to create, the end results or whatever. So when life shows up the way that it is, you can choose to still be in that energy to handle the situations. I'm like, I'm just saying, yo. Ladies and gentlemen, she is the real deal.
Thank you. It's, you learn that and you master everything. And that's what the council came through, to really help all of us do, is master our own energy. That's what we're talking about. Because it doesn't matter who we're in front of. You want to blow this story still blows my mind. We can influence even in the situations where we don't feel we have influence. And I'm just going to share this. When around 2020, we all know what happened then. I was bringing food to my mom and my dad. They picked up, their favorite restaurant, their food, and brought it over to them. And my mom is opening. She's aware I'm bringing over food. Okay, so she opens up the garage door. As she's opening up the garage door, the door to get in the house, she's screaming and yelling at my dad. And he's yelling back at her. And I'm like, hey, God, I'm thinking, this is going to be quick. I'm out of here. But I came in the house, I put the stuff down, and they're still bickering at each other, and arguing. And I'm like, oh, God. So instead of resisting it, instead of escaping, I just decided to go sit quietly at the table. And I allowed myself to feel compassion. Compassion for myself, that I am witnessing two people that supposedly love each other, that are my parents, fight like this in front of me. So I'm just in this moment, letting myself feel that, because compassion is a neutrality. It neutralizes everything. If you're in lack and you allow yourself to feel compassion instead of sorry for yourself, or instead of beating yourself up, or instead of berating yourself, judging yourself, if you let yourself just feel compassion, even for what you're going through, it neutralizes the negative energy. It shifts the momentum. So I'm literally sitting there, just allowing myself to feel compassion for what I'm witnessing. And then I'm feeling the little Christy in me going, oh my God, how many days and weeks and nights and, did I hear that type of arguing? So I was just letting her feel compassion as well. And as soon as that started happening, I was just like wrapping her, just imagining wrapping the young me in this compassion. I started remembering that when I was a kid, I would watch them and go, I don't want that. And I started looking for my friends' parents or my own boyfriend's parents or somebody else's, evidence of two people in a relationship that are wildly in love and respectful and they have fun together and, and all that. And that became what it's like, nope, I want something different than that. And I'm aware of that as a kid. And so in that moment of having that compassion energy and then feeling that the desire to have opposite of what they had, I just got in this absolute state of appreciation and gratitude because I started thinking of my husband and I started thinking about our relationship. And then I started thinking about my boys. And I'm like, I did it. I did the opposite of that. My boys live in a home where we respectfully talk to each other and, hey, we're going to have a family meeting. We've got to bring something up. And there is just love and laughter and silliness and goofiness. And I mean, they make fun of me all the time, but it's like, there's you love this, right? My sons are like, Mom, come in here and do a layup on the thing. So I try to jump and I can't jump very high. I'm very short. So now I look like I'm, making a lot of effort to get up there and I'm like, boop, and they're just like howling, so there's a lot of laughter, a lot of appreciation, a lot of respect in my family. So I'm in that moment, literally having compassion. This is all happening very, very quickly. I'm having this moment of like, oh my God, I'm so appreciative for my husband and my relationship, my family. And as soon as I was in this just big bubble of gushy love, my parents stopped arguing. They came over to the table. They started talking like normal people. They started bringing up fun conversations. And I sat there with them for a good 2.5, 3 hours and probably had the best conversation I've ever had and the best experience I've ever had with my mom and my dad to this day. So I shifted the energy by shifting the energy to just full compassion. And as soon as I was in that compassion, it went into gratitude. And then it went into like, oh my God, I love him so much. I'm so grateful. I love my boys. This is what I wanted. I created the opposite of, and there was just like this, oh, universe, thank you. And then the gifts that were just given in that moment. I mean, just the gratitude for that. So we can shift energy within ourselves, which then affects the environment.
Because we're that powerful.
And it's all energy. We're the conduit of energy. Energy is positive. It wants to create. It wants to move through us. It wants to, create with us. It's our life. Our life is our divine partner. And it's always there in, I'm for you, And when we have that attitude, it's like Einstein said, you could look at life as nothing's a miracle or everything's a miracle. And it's truly like you could look at things as everything's a problem or nothing's a problem or there are no problems. It's really how we perceive and choose to live our lives. And the more we do it and the more we get good at it and the more we fine tune it, we keep seeing more evidence of it because we create from our beliefs. And I said to myself one day, hey, I don't know if abundance is true, but it feels good to think about it. I feel better thinking that I live in an abundant universe than thinking that I don't have enough of something. So that feels good. And if I'm feeling good when I'm thinking those type of thoughts, and I keep seeing evidence to support this, I don't care if it's not true or not. I'm going to make it true because it feels good. This is my reality. I get to create it what I want. I was telling my son plays soccer. My son this morning, we're driving, and I said, he was talking about something doing a corner kick. And I go, hey, Max, can you imagine every time you went for a corner kick, you hit a goal? He goes, Mom, that's impossible. I go, that's not impossible. I go, here, take my phone. Go look up professional soccer players that have gone from a corner kick and hit a goal. And he's like, it's impossible. I'm like, check it out. So I'm driving him to school and he's like, wow, David Beckham did that. And he's watching all these guys, from the corner kick hit into a goal. And I go, there's 10 pieces of evidence right there. He goes, yeah, but you can't do it all the time. I go, why not? Can't you go practice to be that guy that every time you kick that ball, You know, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of the guy I'm drawing a blank. He was a receiver for San Francisco. Great.
Jerry Rice.
Yeah, Jerry Rice, right? I remember hearing Jerry Rice say that every time he caught a football, he kept running. You know, it's like his teammates would say that in practice, when he would catch the football, he would run it all the way into the end zone. And they'd be like, Jerry, why are you doing that? Because he conditioned himself that every time he caught a football, he runs in for a touchdown. If you believe you can do that, if you can believe you can succeed in your own aspect of the world and whatever it is that you're feeling the desire to create, it's like the desire factor. We get these ideas. We're not the idea creator. We're the receiver of the ideas. And once we get that idea of, ooh, I'd like to do this or I'd like to do that, right? We get this idea to do something, to create something, to go somewhere. We receive the idea. When we receive that idea, that awareness of something, we can either go, ooh, yeah, let me do that. That feels fun. That'd be great. I'd love to do that. Or we could go, I can't do that. I'm too old. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm too much this. I'm not enough this. We talk ourselves out of the desire, but if we let ourselves just sit with that desire and let ourselves fill up with that desire, it is to a point where it doesn't even matter anymore. I just experienced this. Last week, I was invited to go to the Grammys. We've been before, amazing experience. I've had other opportunities to go, but this like literally fell in our lap, got an email. And I sat there and I went, oh, that'd be so much fun. I would love to do that. I just sat with the idea, the desire of that. Before I started looking into flights or talking to my husband or anything like that, the idea that the opportunity came in and I just felt my way into, ooh, that would be so much fun. That's a yes for me. Let me lean into that. And then as we started to talk about it, ooh, that'd be fun. Let me call my travel agent. Ooh, we could do that, right? And then it became the kids. And then at one point it got to be where, it's not going to work out this time, but maybe next time. All of that energy of me going, yes, ooh, the expandedness, the excitement of it, the possibilities of it, the potential of that energy doesn't get wasted. That energy, as we hold it, creates other things. So there was something in the desire factor I was holding my point of focus to create. It did not manifest, but other things did, because the energy is what's creative. And so when we focus on, it's got to be that thing, it's got to be that person, it's got to be that situation, we put all of that in, it has to be that thing, and we limit the unlimited. But if we just let ourselves to go, yes, that's possible. Maybe so. Not a financial priority for me right now, but I'm open for that. I would love to do that in whatever aspects, like your belt. Dell, you can give yourself permission. Hey, that little guy in me wanted that. I was shut down. I couldn't have it. So do I still want it? Heck yeah. And just in that very quick, yeah, that'd be great. However you put it in your head, but that feeling of allowance, that feeling of receiving, how quickly did it take? Won it in a contest.
It was quick, like a couple hours type of quick. So yeah. And like you mentioned, desire factor, because I desired it. The part of me desired this belt, and I gave myself that permission to receive it.
No creation happens without desire. If you didn't have a desire for it, you wouldn't have entered into a contest. You wouldn't have had awareness of the contest. It wouldn't have been in your reticular activation system. It wasn't even part of your consciousness until you decided. That's what I want. I want to experience this. Then it becomes part of our field, our focus. We're that powerful. And it happens quick.
Yeah. I have a question in regards to that. So we all have our own different desires that pop up, and then these thoughts come up, the self-limiting ones. Oh, I can't have this, or oh, I'm not good enough for this, I'm not worthy enough for it, that type of thing. What do you do when those show up in regards to your desires, those type of thoughts or beliefs or emotions?
I love that question. And I do talk about that because it's like when you get this desire, there's either three things you can do. You can allow yourself to feel into it and connect with it and be inspired by it, even if there's no action that is needed to be taken in the moment. Sometimes there is. And it's like, ooh, you just look into it, get more information, do what it is that you need to do. There's that. That grows you. It expands you as a human being. But even in that, as we're going along, going, yes, 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 there might be a thought, right? A thought of, I can't do that, right? Or the next thing that happens is you get this idea and you're like, ooh, I love it. And then you got to take some kind of action. You got to do something. You got to write something down. You got to call someone. You got to take an action with it. And we don't do it. So it dissipates and it doesn't create anything because we are the action takers. The divine's going, hey, need you to use your legs, your arms, your mouth. And if we're going, yeah, it's fun, but I'm not willing to take the action on it, then nothing gets created. And then there's the third, which is like, oh my God, I would never be able to do that. There's no way. No one in my family has ever done that. Oh my gosh, that's impossible. So then, of course, it doesn't get created. So in all three of those situations, we have our minds, these big, beautiful brains of ours that have a file cabinet of all things that are possible and not possible. And so our mind, because it's its job to check everything out, right? To receive information, go, nope, not possible. When we hear that, go, wait, hang on. Kind of like what I did with Max in the car today. Wait a minute. How come I got the idea? So if it's not possible, the idea has already started the creation process. I may not know how to do it or who is going to do it with or what or any of that, but the divine does. The one that gave me that idea, that came from a higher place. That moment I received that book and started writing it, if I was to go, what do I know about being an author? Who's going to listen to me? I'm not a PhD. I'm not a this. I'm not a that. There have been so many things I could have talked myself out of all along the way. But it's like looking at and going, okay, what you got to say, right? Well, you don't know how to do it. No, I don't. But there are people out there that do. Oh, okay. Well, I'm too old. Well, did you know that Julia Child, when she was in her, think of someone famous that, like the guy that did, not DC Comics, but Marvel, Stan Lee. I mean, later in life, he created these. So whatever your mind has a reason, excuse, a justification for not doing something or to hold you back, it's its job. It's like, you know what? Thank you. I hear what you're saying. Appreciate that. But I want to do it, right? This feels good to me. I know that the answers will come. It's moving beyond what is known and being willing to be in the field of what is unknown. Because if you're just going to stick with what's known, you're going to continue to create the same.
That's a nugget right there. Magical one.
Yeah. So we need to utilize all the parts. It's like we have actually 4 bodies. We have our mental body, we have our emotional body, we have our physical body, and we have our energy body. There's like 4 aspects of us. And, when we could go, ooh, that's a thought. That's not the whole beingness of me is not saying I can't do that. There's a small part. Maybe it's a small little part. But that's it.
Boom.
Yeah.
I can accurately express all the value that you've brought to this conversation. Like, who you are is amazing and immensely expansive. Thank you for bringing your energy to this show.
Thank you. I'm so honored you both asked me, and it was an honor to sit with both of you. Thank you for what you're doing in the world.
Yeah. And speak about, because we're just talking about desire.
Yeah.
You have a new book out, right?
Yeah, it came out, what was it, last year? So it's the Desire Factor, and it's the 7 steps, like 7 principles. And we've heard, if you've been doing manifestation or, spiritual work for a while, we know of these 7 principles, but putting them in the right order, which is what I was so grateful for the council to do, because it's an understanding of how energy sets up to pop into form. And so if we follow those principles in the exact order, that's how energy literally sets up to manifest, forms itself into something. And so I'm very, very grateful that it's that clear. And I've had people say that to me, that this is the clearest about manifesting that they've ever read in all the years that they've been doing this. And so other people have said this is manifestation gold. And, other people have said that this is the best manifestation book in a decade. So very grateful.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Can't wait to dive into it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And if someone wanted to participate in your other programs, your law of attraction certification, all of the amazing things that you offer, where could they find that?
You can go to ChristyWhitman.com. That's my main hub. I also have the Desire Factor podcast that you can listen to. And I do recommend that if you really want to learn more about this and how to apply it, go to watchyourwords.com. The reason is because for years and years and years, I had people ask me, like in interviews, well, where does someone start talking about like energy and esoteric stuff, right? It's like, where do you start? And for me, I started with my thoughts, but I made it more simpler because there are actually words and phrases that we say that are based in lack and limitation that starts the whole entire momentum and creation process. So I created a video program. It's free for everybody. It's watchyourwords.com. And in the videos, they're about 2 to 4 minutes a day in length. And they tell you 3 things. They tell you what the word or phrase that you do not want to say, why, and then what to say instead. And what that does. And I've just seen people over the years shift their language, and they just absolutely shift their reality. So.
Right. Because we create with words and language.
We do. And vibration.
And that vibe. Christy, it's been such a pleasure having this conversation with you. Again, thank you so much for all that you brought to the conversation.
Thank you both. Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome. And
Stay magical.
You've been listening to our Daily Magic podcast with Kai and Dell. Please like, subscribe, and tune in next week for another magical episode. Visit www.ourdailymagic.com for more. Thank you for listening and have a magical day.